Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to If Data Could Talk. I'm Andy Cotgreave, technical evangelist at Tableau, and your host. And today, we've got a very special guest. It is my good friend and co-author of the Big Book of Dashboards, Mr. Steve Wexler, who is also the co-founder of Data Revelations. And Steve, I believe you wrote a new book. Is that right? Say hi, Steve. Tell us about.
Funny that you bring that up, Andy. Yes, a new book called The Big Picture: How to Use Data Visualization to Make Better Decisions Faster. Thank you for asking about that.
Well, yeah, guess what? We're going to talk all about it. How to make better decisions faster. So, Steve, tell us what was the inspiration for the book? Why are we not making decisions fast enough? Is that the problem?
Well, a lot of people said, aren't there like a zillion books about data visualization already out there? Why are you creating another one? Think of the inspiration for the book you and I worked on. You know, we both agreed, along with Jeff Schaefer, well, there's a need for this because it was answering a problem that we were all encountering. Hey, I've got this data, I've got this predicament, I've got this situation. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know the best way to show it. And we came up with this scenario-based approach to data visualization. If you have this situation or one that's maybe a little similar to it, hey, this might work for you and here's why. And it's proven to be a pretty popular book and it fit a need. The big picture, two things came about. One was every time I do a workshop based on the book you and I wrote with Jeff, I would have a momentary bit of panic, first 5 minutes, doesn't everybody already know this stuff? The fundamentals of data visualization. The first chapter of the Big Book of Dashboards is a primer on data visualization. And we all agree this needs to be in there because this may be some people's first book on data visualization. And I think that first chapter is absolutely brilliant. And I can say that without sounding like a jerk because I wrote virtually none of it. It's almost entirely you and Jeff, and it's wonderful. But it becomes really clear, all right, the practitioners who are going to be creating the charts and dashboards, they don't have as firm a grounding as one might expect. But the more acute issue was this common theme of people in their organization do not yet value data visualization. They don't understand, why are you doing this? Why are you bothering? I'm happier if you just give me a spreadsheet. And I'm realizing so many people just aren't comfortable with simple, easy to understand charts. And if we can fix that, if we can make them, the term, people are saying, should we use the term data literacy? Because no one wants to be viewed as being illiterate. But if we can make them comfortable with data visualizations, I think so many things that are hidden and hard to glean become much clearer. So that was the impetus for this recognition that there's a whole bunch of people that need to understand this language, but don't.
So do you think a large part of the current markets of data visualization books appeal to the analysts, whereas actually it's data leaders, CEOs, CXOs, or senior leaders as well, or other people who
it's
perhaps
certainly
need that primer?
Look, you know, my pie in the sky thing is some CEO reads this book, goes, this is amazing. Everyone in this organization needs to get a copy of this thing. We're going to give it to them on a Friday. They're going to read it over the weekend. They're going to come in on Monday, and instantly we are going to all be better decision makers. Okay, that's a little bit
well, we could say to all the CEOs watching this video that clearly they've just received an action at the end to go and enact that, right, Steve?
But I think this is a fairly easy language to learn how to read. So all the other books seem to be geared towards creating writers. You know, you and I have spoken of this metaphor I use. Not that many people are going to author a book, but everyone needs to be able to read a book. Not everyone is going to create charts and dashboards, but everyone needs to be able to read them, appreciate them, use them, and recognize how transformative they can be in their organization. That's what I'm trying to do with the big picture. Just get everybody to this minimal level of fluency.
So I think obviously you and I speak a lot, and you've told me that inspiration a few times before, or many times before, and it's obvious in hindsight. It's like, well, yeah, all those books I've got on my shelves about making charts, they're all about making charts, and that's a huge gap, clearly. So I guess so it was that moment in the workshop when you were doing workshops of dashboards, that was the first inspiration for a book, for the book. And do you see that some organizations just don't value data visualization? Is that what you're seeing out there?
I doubt if you were to ask anyone in an organization, go to a senior manager and say, so is it safe to say you and senior leadership don't value a data input? No one's going to say they don't value it. It's that I don't think they've come to appreciate it, use it, emphasize it, etc. And I think, one of the reasons is there anything to get these people up to speed quickly to recognize how useful it can be and make them comfortable with it? No one wants to admit ignorance. No one wants to come off as, gee, I guess I'm supposed to understand it, but I don't, rather than saying, hey, can you help me understand that? They'll just default to the thing they do understand, which is a table full of numbers. And that's fine, but it's just going to take you way longer to glean insight, and you may miss insights.
It's funny, I find, even within Tableau, as we get people who join the organization, there seems to be a reluctance to sort of step up and go, well, I don't quite know what I'm doing with these dashboards. They get fed to me, and I feel unequipped to challenge the fact that perhaps they don't show me what I think they should show me, because I think people think, oh, it's my fault I can't read this dashboard that Steve Wexler made for me. And perhaps you made a bad dashboard, Steve, but perhaps you made a great dashboard. They just don't have the language to tackle it.
Damn, this is a good point. And I'm getting all giddy with excitement about it, because it points to a whole bunch of things that are broken in the organization, and I'm as guilty as anyone with it. One is, if that person who doesn't understand the thing, if he or she is the target of that presentation, of that dashboard, and that person doesn't understand it, then it is probably the creator of the chart or the dashboard that has messed up. That I've run into this now. I did a pilot workshop based on the big picture, and one of the things I missed the first time out was including charts and dashboards that are in the organization. And someone said, I was at a presentation and I just didn't understand this thing at all, and I was hoping you'd show that in your workshop so I could understand how to read it. And it made me think, if you can't read it, it may be a really crappy visualization. It may, if you're wondering, is it me or is it him? It's probably him.
Yeah.
But the disconnect between the person who's creating the charts and dashboards and the person who needs to use them is strong in a lot of organizations. There usually isn't that connection or working together or collaboration.
The best example I ever had of that when I learned this the hard way was I was building dashboards when I used to be an analyst at the University of Oxford. And, I was building dashboards, and they were just bar charts and line charts, but, they had like double bars, perhaps 2 or 3 lines on each line chart. I was like, oh, this stuff's easy. How could they not understand it? And then I'd get people in a room, sit down and watch them use the dashboard, but not tell them how to use it. I'd be like, here's a fresh user, just use this dashboard. And then watch them fail to use the dashboard. And I'm like, how can you not understand it? And that was the epiphany for me. It's like, well, I designed it for myself, and I hadn't designed it in a way for these people to understand. And yet these same users had not come to me to say they didn't know how to use the dashboard, because it's quite an intimidating thing to say to the dashboard creator that they couldn't use what you built. So, yeah.
That particular test of, instead of me presenting the dashboard to you and how to use it, here it is. What do you think this thing is showing you? And they can get, and they glean and just say, well, I think this is showing this, and this is showing a comparison of 5 regions, and I have no idea what this thing is. And you go, oh, you just kind of found the Achilles heel in this particular dashboard. Either I need to explain it to you because it's a complicated chart. Not everything can be a bar or a line chart.
No.
I kind of messed up on this thing. And something that was easy for me may be confusing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think one of the things you cover in the book is a difference between, almost a fundamental. It's like, oh, we need to do data visualization in this organization, or they go to a conference and, oh, now we need to do data storytelling. Can you just do them both? And did you get the sense that leaders or the audience of your book understand the difference, can express it, and even practitioners? What do you think the difference between those two things are?
So recently I came across a delightful book, which I was expecting not to like. I thought, oh, great. Yeah, yet another book on data storytelling. This comes from Brent Dyke's Effective Data Storytelling. And he contacted me, and I thought it was just going to be yet another book. And I got a tremendous amount out of it. But if I were to distill it down to 2 sentences, data visualization is using visuals to find insights that may have remained hidden. Data storytelling is how do you communicate those insights effectively. So I don't think you can do data storytelling without data visualization, but data visualization is, holy crap, I found something amazing. Now how am I going to communicate and get other people as excited about this as I am? And that's where the data storytelling comes in.
Yeah, excellent. And there's another quote in the book about you. You don't want people to be a consumer. You want them to be a driver for change. Now I have my own interpretations of that, which I might share. What's behind that quote for you?
Yeah, and I think I used the witticism. You're now becoming a patron of the charts along the way. But I'm trying to create savvy consumers of this stuff. The people they may never create it, but look, most book critics don't actually write their own books. They criticize other people's books. But I'm trying to create smart, informed consumers who may give pushback and say, I don't think this is as clear or useful. Not in a bad way, not in a smarmy, I'm chopping you down way. But gee, this isn't as clear as it could be. Or, your pie chart only adds up to 87%, and there is ironclad rule of pie charts. They have to add up to 100%, and I'll see stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
And you want people in the organization to make sure that you are not publishing visualizations that are wrong. In that case, that's just wrong, misleading, confusing, or deceitful. And some people will actively practice deceit. They'll try to make sales look greater than they really are, or it's ignorance. Gee, I didn't realize that. Oh, I took out the don't knows. I didn't include them, but I left all the numbers. The slices all got bigger, but the numbers all stayed the same, and I didn't realize that was a problem. And the pushback that I'll give them and say, when you do something like this, if your audience is even a little bit informed, they are going to think one of 2 things. Either you are trying to bamboozle them, or you're an idiot. This is not the way you want to come off when you're giving a presentation. Both of those things are bad. Oh my God, he's a bamboozling idiot. He's both. And you don't want that.
No, absolutely no. I wholly agree, and I think the other aspect, the reason that quote resonates for me is I often see customers sometimes forget about either the last mile of the data or actually what they're trying to do. It's like, so they invest in the platform, they invest in the stack, and they go from preparation to collecting data, preparing it and analyzing it. But actually, if you're not trying to persuade others, to sharing insight to persuade others to drive change in your organization, what was the point? So it's about taking those last steps, right? And so even the people who don't consume the charts, the ones who read the ones who don't create the charts, they still have to be able to pass that information on with relevant insight, with an action, right? Because if they're not, what was the point?
Well, that is the point, which is how are you helping your audience? And I think some of my more brilliant colleagues in this field, I fear sometimes they forget that. And it's, are you trying to help somebody or are you trying to show off just how smart you are?
Mm.
So I have seen one of our colleagues, and I think, and I'm going to narrow it down to he. He does brilliant work, and he was publishing iterative versions of something. And the penultimate one, I thought, this is great. It's clear and it's beautiful. You know, that combination of something which is aesthetically appealing. But then he decided, oh, I want to tilt the whole thing 45 degrees because people will be so impressed that I pull the Georgia loopy type of thing and put everything on the diagonal. And this thing that was easy to understand became really hard to understand. So there's a wonderful Far Side cartoon, Gary Larson. First pants, then shoes. I would say first aha, and when you've got that right, then do the ooh ah. But this was like, I'm going for the ooh ah, and totally forgot and obscured the aha part of this thing. And it just makes me want to scream.
I think that's
I
the most
get it.
profound answer we've had on 2 seasons of If They Could Talk. Could you repeat that whole paragraph again? Because that was amazing.
The
Go on,
well,
say it again.
the aha, then ooh ah. You know, you've got to get the aha first. And once you've got that, hey, if you can make it beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, you know, one of the best practitioners of this is Lindsay Poulter. You know, that spot on analytically, and this stuff is just, you know, designed so beautifully. You know, upper right quadrant, okay? But if you can only have one, get the aha. I found something useful and I made it really clear and easy to understand. Versus, man, I want to impress everybody. I want to make, you know, I want to out Santee all these other people. I want to make something, you know, I want to out curvy and, you know, curves and radial bar charts and this almost fascination with the equivalent of molecular gastronomy. You know, I'm going to create these really exotic food textures that don't come by just, you know, heating something in a skillet, but I'm going to flash freeze this thing and use liquid nitrogen and create foams out of stuff that would normally not have foams. And I'm thinking, hey, that's great. I'm just trying to serve up a nutritious meal. Simple, straightforward. I understand the thing. I can make the comparisons. Am I enraptured by something beautiful? In my case, probably not. You know, I just don't have those particular skills, but I'm going to help you see something. And I think you can also have, without doing these frothy masterpieces, you can also create something that persuades and has an emotional tug. I've done it. I've seen people react to stuff in a visceral way, and it was using very simple charts, using dots, position of dots from a common baseline. Humans are just great at being able to make those comparisons.
So are there any specific examples for people to kind of latch these ideas on? Because, I mean, Steve, you're the master of the metaphor. I mean, they've been flowing out of you in this interview. I love it. What about something, the concrete? Do we have any concrete examples we can talk about?
I try, by the way, concrete examples, and people can look at these things for free if they want to. You know, yes, of course, you know, I'm hoping that people will want to get the book, but they want to sample the stuff. The intro to the big picture has 3 examples, and I can't help thinking that you and other people watch movies and see things differently. You can't just look at a chart at this point and not be thinking, is that the best way to show this? So I'm watching this Eddie Murphy movie called Dolemite Is My Name. It's Netflix. You can get this. And there's this pivotal scene where this sleazy movie producer opens up Variety magazine and he goes through this table full of numbers and he sees something that astounds him. And I've got this, the slides and examples here, and it's in this table full of numbers, and he has to go like this, and he sees this big number, and he sees, oh my God, it's this movie by this guy he rejected. And it becomes this pivotal plot thing. The sleazy movie producer calls up Rudy Ray Moore, that's the name of the character played by Eddie Murphy, and says, hey, I want to promote this movie. Well, I'm looking at this thing and going, oh my God, had it been a bar chart, you'd have all these small bars and one giant bar, and 9 different producers would be calling this guy studio heads up because they would see the outlier. They wouldn't have to be searching through it with so much difficulty. It almost hits you over the head and goes, look, this one's stupid. This is the one that you should be looking at. And that's what you're missing when you're just looking at a table full of numbers. The governor of New York and the former governor of New York, at his apex, at his best, he's a very troubled man, but he showed great leadership. And usually his visualizations in his daily briefings at the peak of at the beginning and the most fearful portion of the COVID crisis, he would give briefings, and most of the visualizations were good. He just showed a table full of numbers. Here's what we got on hand. Here's what we need. Well, I'm now looking at numbers and I'm trying to get a sense. Are we almost there? Are we really far away? Should we be panicking? Should we be okay? And you present it differently. You go, oh my gosh, I can see exactly where the shortfalls are.
And first of all, congratulations on not repeating what the character actually said in the Dolemite movie.
Yes.
The slides will have shown an abbreviated version of that quote, or do go watch the movie for the more emphatic exclamation than polite Steve just gave you. So, but yeah, you're right. So tables of numbers, obviously visualization is about enhancing taking advantage of the cognitive system. So, you've got examples of tables in the book. There might be people watching this who are really at that first step. They think, well, all I ever get is a table of numbers. What can they do to even take one step and maybe enhance a table of numbers if they don't even want to go down a line chart path?
Well, me and Jeff have this discussion. We refer to the gateway drug to data visualization, and that's another one of the slides that you'll be able to pick up pretty easily. Give people their beloved spreadsheet, and we have an example, east, west, north, and south, and then 17 different categories. And we'll ask people, all right, which cell out of these 68 different things, 4 by 17, which is the most profitable, which is the least profitable? And it takes a long time to scan through stuff, and 25 seconds, and 4 out of 5 people will get it right. You then color code the cells. You still leave the numbers in there, but you have dark blues and oranges. We can have a whole discussion of whether blue is good or orange is good at some other time. And
we have discussed that at length in multiple episodes of Chart Chat. So not today, maybe.
The stuff pops out. You can see immediately, oh my gosh, I don't even have to see the numbers. Look, really dark blue over there. Oh, really bright orange over there. Done. Got it. Then you can enhance this a little more and say, hey, that was great. You got it. You told me. But overall, which region is doing the best? And overall, which product category is doing the best? And then you introduce something called a marginal histogram to this thing. Another example might be with technical support calls. And you have every hour of the day, every day of the week, and you can see this highlight table. You see these dark oranges, meaning lots of calls, and light oranges, meaning few calls. And this is an example where color is helping you see concentrations of things. It's not great for doing accurate comparisons. If I show you a dark orange circle and a light orange circle, you're not going to be able to say, well, this is 3 times as dark as that. You'll just see it's darker. In any case, we can then enhance it with this bar chart. So you've started with the thing that people are comfortable with, a mess of numbers. You've color coded them, then you put bar charts around it. You've done it slowly. You safe space, so to speak, and around something they already understand. And now they'll start to see, okay, maybe there is something to this. It's not that complicated. And I am able to get the answers a lot faster this way than the other way.
And this tech support calls chart, it's the topic of data is very dry, but I believe this is not actually tech support called data, Steve, but you, what's the real data behind this?
So this was originally the propensity of a certain politician to tweet. It was what day, what hour of the day and day of the week does a certain politician want to tweet? The fact that I was using an orange color palette was purely a coincidence. January 7th, I get a panic call from the editor of The Big Picture saying, we can't include this example in the book. These tweets just, almost fomented an insurrection. We have to come up with another example. I said, no, we don't. Same data, just change the title. Technical support calls instead of propensity to tweet. And
and I think we've narrowed down the politician quite closely there. But
do not do anything about avoid politics and naming politicians in any book that you write. Okay, it's going to bite you at some point. Just avoid it. That's my one overarching recommendation.
Now, you also mentioned a gateway drug, and back in 1986, the first ever, when I was in my first graduate job, I was shared a copy of Edward Tufte's book, in which contains the Minard Chart, which now has a pride of place on my wall. And you've written an entire chapter on the Minard Chart in your book. Now, what brought that book about, and what is it you're trying to say with the Minard Chart?
That's an example of molecular gastronomy, by the way. So I bring the thing up and I say, you probably shouldn't be making anything like this. It is my problem. Look, at this point, this is now considered like the friggin' Mona Lisa of all charts.
For those who don't know it, it'll be on screen. Minard, it's a chart describing the march to Moscow in 1812 from Napoleon, or by Napoleon, and the thickness of the line shows how many soldiers he started off with. He went from left to right on the map, from sort of the Russian border to Moscow, didn't have anybody to fight, retreated, that's the black line, and limped back to where he started, with about 98% of his soldiers killed or captured or unable to walk. So the chart was made in 1879. There's plenty of amazing places you can go for more on the chart. Anyway, carry on.
1869, but
was it? I've been saying 1879 for about 10 years. Oh my gosh.
If R.J. Andrews were here, he would tell us the exact month and location of it. First of all, it is a brilliant piece of work, but my problem with it is I don't think it is going to help you in any way in modern business communication. That is my problem with the book that a lot of people know, The Visual Display of Quantitative Data, first edition, written by Edward Tufte in 1983. I remember getting that book, reading it, and wondering, how am I going to apply this to anything that I'm doing, when I was first starting with Tableau. And then I discovered the works of Stephen Few and had a sigh of relief, because it was, oh, this is more about business communication. And it is the problem that I have with that chart and Tufte's approach, and in his workshops as well, that people are going there, and I'm wondering, how are they going to apply this to their work the next day? And I don't think they can. It would be akin to somebody taking a workshop or course in business communication, and they are expecting, I'm going to learn how to write a tight, succinct, clear email. I want to learn how to make a good blog post. I want to know how to make a PowerPoint presentation that's tight and will have an impact. And instead, they show up and the guy says, well, let's look at John Keats. I want to discuss some of the work of John Keats. He's a brilliant poet. We're going to start with Ode to a Grecian Urn. Then we're going to go on first reading Chapman's Homer. Oh, much have I traveled through the land of data, and many goodly dashboards have I seen. And then we'll end with Ode to a Nightingale, which brings us to the whole Nightingale chart. The poetry is great, and it would be wonderful if people studied it and understood it. Is this going to help them at all in modern communications? No, it isn't. And they're wondering, well, these poems were pretty cool, and yeah, I guess I have a greater appreciation for it. How am I going to apply this? How is this going to help me in my work tomorrow? And the answer is, it probably isn't. And that's my concern about the Minard chart. If you go to a Tufte workshop with the idea of, this guy's brilliant and erudite, and I want to see a famous person talk about some historic data visualizations, great, you've gone to the right place. If you're looking for this to help you with create things that are going to have an impact in your organization, I don't think it's as useful as it could be. So there.
That's good stuff. So, I mean, that answer, and I think everything we've talked about is you're a real proponent from a business communication perspective of keep it simple, stupid. Am I right?
I don't think I hate the stupid part of it. It's taken me 15 years to create kind of this mantra, this guiding post that I always keep in my head. I think we are here in business communication. If you're creating an infographic for Wired magazine, there's a different pressure that's on you. Mm-hmm. But within what I think I do reasonably well, if you start with provide the greatest degree of understanding with the least amount of effort, it's probably going to serve you well. Now, the greatest degree of understanding is for your audience, and the least amount of effort is for the audience. You may have to work hard, but you don't want them to work harder than you need to. Also, I'm saying keep it simple. Simple is good, simplistic is not. You don't want to, there's some aphorism, and I don't know if it's often attributed to Albert Einstein, as simple as possible, but no simpler. Yeah. And I absolutely believe that and try to follow that.
You know what, Steve? I think that is the perfect place to wrap up, because, the book's great. I think you've found a real need, as we at Tableau, we talk about data culture, data literacy, data fluency so much. And, we can champion the analysts and they get excited. But again, it's about persuading the rest of the organization to be excited and engaged, but also with just the level of fluency they need to be able to absorb and constructively critique where necessary. Because, I think that's a big barrier for a lot of people.
Well, Andy, the keeping it simple, people listen to this and go, got it, Wexler is a simpleton.
I hope, and I'm sure they did not get that from this conversation. In fact, they could go and then validate this, Steve, and here's the segue to the final question, by finding out a little bit more. So if someone's gotten a bit excited about what they've heard, how can they find where you are, and where can we go and get the book? So
if they go to bigpick.me, that will take them to the book portion of datarevelations.com. Data Revelations is my website, and bigpick.me will take them right to the big book portion, and they can download a free sample of the big picture. They can also download a free sample of the big book of dashboards and check it out. Hopefully people will find it valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people want to see Steve, myself arguing every month, along with Jeff, our co-author, and Amanda McCulloch, who's head of Data Visualization Society, we also do a video series called Chart Chat, where we just argue about the rights and wrongs of visualizations we find. So
and we often have, I'm just going to give it a plug for it, by the way, no one is ever just a guest, right? They're always a special guest or a very special guest. And that's now become kind of a hallmark of Chart Chat. So look for it. You may be pleased with who will show up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, There you go, Steve Wexler. As always, it's hugely energizing to have a conversation with you. I hope those of you watching have found that fascinating too. So do go check out bigpic.me. And while you're doing that, keep your eye out for another episode of If Data Could Talk coming soon. With that, thank you, Steve. Take care, everybody.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Andy. Thanks for having me here today.